So then prayers starting on page 1 of the prayer book, or alternatively on the screen up there. From the heart of the Saviour of 100 deities, Shita, on the peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dharma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit from the mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations, the ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite three vows that I've collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and riches as meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Saviour, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. So just to pause briefly and just to rejoice in the virtues that have been performed by all the holy beings and also all ordinary beings, including oneself. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teaching of all transmigratory beings, and in particular, may it cause the essence of the perfect, pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi po ki shui shime to Pamri rabling si ni de gampadi sangye shindu mi te owa yido konam nao Jin la cho pa sho. By the merits having of this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet and practice and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamiyatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons. Combining into one enter my crown, white nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. So then we do the 5-line Mingze Way prayer on page 8, just to recite that 3 times. Mingze Way Te Te Chen Re Zi, Dream E Kempe Wampo Jampa Yan, Dumo Palu Chung We Sang We Dang, Gan Chen Tempen Zun Ken Song Kapa, Lo Zan Dra Ble Sa Ble So Wa De, Mingze Way Te Te Chen Re Zi, Dream E Kempe Wampo Jampa Lumo Palu Chung We Sang We Dang, Gan Chen Tempen Zun Ken Song Kapa, Lo Zan Dra Ble Sa Ble So Wa De, Mi me zi wei te te chen rei zi, dream e kempe wampo jampai. Lu mo pa lu zhong wei san wei dang, gan chen ten pen zhen ken song ka pa, lo zan dra ble sa bla so wa de. And then now a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, just over the page 9. Fearless teacher and assembly of children, the victorious one, Sravaka and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness to accomplish this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly depart to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean and three jewels, and the great ways of bodhicitta, the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Sanji Chedang Soji Chonum La Chanchu Bardu Dani Jabsun Chi Dagi Chushi Jebanda Dagi Rolampen Sanji Drubar Sho Sanji Chedang Soji Chonum La Chanchu Bardu Dani Jabsun Chi Dagi Chushi Jebanda Dagi Rolampen Sanji Drubar Sho Sanji Chödan Chojin Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Jabsun Dagi Chushi Jebanda Dagi Rolan Ben Sanji Drupara Sho Kangi Tuzi Nizoni Tawa Tamche Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Denze Kwadam Tela Chance Lo Namu La Yekena Ludana Jingi Tripon Dadam Bi Yekenam Dando Kunji Tanam Chizam Good morning, everyone. Shobadile.
Geshe Shobadile.
Tanganzu Nidon Nishasongi Lokanza Rosilara Sapasan Chachin Latini Anin Nanshu Tola Tanganzu Kitchen Shin Roderos Ra. The Terin any Tanidon Nishasongi Sapasangi Chundun Tamadi Chagoris.
So today is our last class for the 2023. So for this whole entire year of 2023, we've been discussing about Buddhism in general. These are what's been the topic for our Friday classes. Today marks the final class for our discussion groups. Rasula.
Teta na Nidon Sasamgi Sapasangi Chundun Tamateri Sra. Tenida Nidon Sapshini Yangotsuni Muntunin Rotuyagi Revayus Ra Ba Muntunin Garansun Yambo Lochuchonga Pa Muntunin Rotuyagi Nginguni Revayus Ra and same thing Karsawada Gabuyus Karansun Yamdo Narangi Namasanji Vichu Kang Jan Shabati and Karansun Yamdo by share chiagi and in Debatan Gawat some years Ra.
So today is the last Friday class for 2023. And as we move into and begin 2024, Geshe's hope is to continue these Friday classes and remain together. So perhaps for 10 or 15 years that we can continue these classes. So this is Geshe's hope or wish from the very depths of Geshe's heart. So Geshe from his side has done his best to share about the Buddha Dharma, what he understands and what he knows. He's done his best to share that with you all, and he's thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah. So, and he believes that we've all come together and that we've all enjoyed together. That's it.
일다 당간주 레와당 이치 치고야디 신도니 개침부리스로 수세 레와치 이치치 티 개침부리스 이번에 당간 참말로 대좀된데 추토마 송디 아니 뒤지 탐제 못 봤어 뒤지 탐제 못 봤어 라운디 간전 뒤지로 규다 견된 총자반서 아니 규다 견된 로해 마토베 아니 라마 요마로스 로 아니 가리나 간진 간서 아니 규긴기 샤만 겨데바 마도 간솔이야 오늘 타치도 아니 라마 요마로스 메디 잠발라 규긴라 때는 간서 규어 드로이 임바레스 진짜 규어디 규다 견라 때는 규어 상부직 아니 소즈게 데버든 tum비게 아니 교와치 드로야게 토람 베준 제고거래 레와 제고거래 탑시 제고 여러스라
So we place our hopes and we have our trust and we have our wishes. These are very important to have. But in the beginning, the Buddha Shakyamuni spoke about all phenomena are actually impermanent, and that impermanence creates all phenomena due to causes and conditions. So these causes and conditions, we really have no control over the gathering of all these causes and conditions. So, but ultimately, when we understand this nature, that the nature of phenomena is in the nature of transformation, but we can place good causes, positive causes, and we can make effort and we can find methods in order to gather these causes and conditions together. That's all.
zambalin nanglo netsurdi yam tsembu yorosro yam tsembu karosna pena gyakab kichedu sambanamda lega chedingi miri kichedu sambanamda lega chedingi imbayna ani gaji mambu chede tindi yungu yorosro gaji cheche ani chi tananji 소수 아니 속쇼드라 딘디 용기 열어왔어. 딘자 간조지 데발데니 아니 최체니 라발로니 라도드지 아니 최존디 친한 발송 그 돌아야 삼로다니 내가 치용디 아니 가기 마부 체시거레스. 라 아니 딘자 디 간조기 샘라 샤고야지 건가기 생인디 용 외바지 용야지 레마도 용야 메교 가르켄지 간절에 체요 말아왔어.
So in our world, we can actually find very interesting situations here. You can look at a situation relating to whole nations or countries, and people are working for the benefit and for the good of those countries. And likewise, people are working for the benefit and good for the country folk, the the inhabitants of those countries as well, and even at the cost of their lives or loss of life, that they're engaging in the try to work for the benefit of the inhabitants and for the good of the country. So likewise, we also engage in study, reflection, and so forth. But during this time, there's a possibility that we actually meet with obstacles, things, conditions that are put in our way. But because the work is beneficial, then actually the working through of these obstacles becomes a very worthwhile, a valuable activity. Yeah. So, so we're not, if we're engaged in these positive activities, even though there may be obstacles, then we're not going to be meeting with any obstacle that is not going to be worthwhile working through. Lazula.
다들 딘자 간지 당한주 수수기 로 당한주 수수기 무슨 된대 용야야 무슨 약보지 용야기 쳐도 아니 가르치고 그래 슬라운디 좀 된 얘기를 아니 남전 안샤야디 무슨 된대 용야기 쳐도 아니 미 약보지 치고 거라서 미 약보지 아니 수수 무슨 대 기부지 수수 무슨 기부자 마인 바지 미션이야 펜도치 통행기 아니 미치로 계집 펜도치 마토바나야 미션이야 내 마징이 미치 더 제거야디 아니 미친 디게 아니 님보로도 띵사레스 로 디송요라더라.
So here we can think about how is the method in order for make our own lives meaningful, to become useful and meaningful. What do we have to do in order to create a meaningful life for ourselves? So the Buddha Shakyamuni, he said to be a good person and to create a happy life, not only for yourself, but to work for the benefit of others. So if we're actually unable to benefit others, at least refrain from harming others. So the Buddha Shakyamuni said that this is the very essence of what the Buddha taught.
제가 이 용약이 아니 탑람로디 가르레스 라운디 자위기 산점된 데기 추추디온디 라바숨 생디는 디고레스 로 주름기 라바 땡지 라바 셰르비 라바 디숨 그 냠린 제데다 좀된 데기 라브샤다 장매바지 송여다 있는 추디바이나 아니 라바숨은 디고레스 라바숨은 난기 또 심한로디 아니 라바 주름기 라바디 개체슈 진 송여레스로.
So the main method of cultivating a meaningful or purposeful life is to be, you can understand as being summarized as the three higher trainings. The three higher trainings of the higher training of ethical discipline, concentration, and wisdom. So the Buddha Shakyamuni actually gave countless advice, but all of that advice can be condensed into these three higher trainings of ethical discipline, concentration, and wisdom. So here we can regard the first of the three higher trainings, the higher training of ethical discipline, to be the most important. Let's see.
제가 당한주 출점 길라바스 라운디 아니 자위기 출점래야 림바망부 연구여레스 로 아니 베나타 직겸류 dom바니 제네 아니 야 타투나타 직 아니 응아기 dom바 상아기 dom베 파르도 아니 dom바림바망부 쇼치기여레스 로.
So actually there are many different stages when we're speaking in terms of the higher training of ethical discipline, from the very basis of the vow of taking refuge and all the way up to the vow of taking the secret mantra vow. So in between, there are actually many different stages. Let's sort of.
다들 정나 동바 참마 랭고 다스라 동바 참마 렌 동바 참마 직송 통해지 차바노 담 아니 담 미디 오늘 단위기다 미약부 생인데 차고 왔어레스 밀랍치 로 미 참을로야 펜토 통해 소수 찍고 비게 단 많이 받지 아니 셴팽기 자와 야첨부 접 통행기 남주 진지 용야라야 아니 dombatso pe maseba kechimbu chago sares ro
So if somebody is actually able to take all of these vows, if they're able to protect all of these different stages or levels of vows, then that person will become a very sort of good person, so to speak, be very meaningful, and will not only be able to benefit themselves, but they'll be in a position where they'll be able to help and benefit others. Yeah, so they'll be able to demonstrate a deep level of intelligence, yeah, sort of wisdom, and then also be creating a good or meaningful way. So this is why the vows or the ethical discipline is very important.
tadire tinza da tizu yongya ngo tangbo di ani kyamru domba sedi chagiyores ro kyamru domba di ani kyabsundu yu sanjichu gendunsum ngoji tene delaya tachigduro ani 이책이 로직 매나 아니 겸도 남다 세디 가부 배차고 그랬어. 대상 아주 통망한디 다 장야도디 아니 원초고야디 아니 산지추 겐둔숨디 아니 원초고야다 신도는 개침을해서라. 지 수승원의 지 남바 산지비 최남다 제 등인지 바나 아니 남바 산지비기 아니 최 등인기 아니 tembakkati chingi karswada kusung tuksumgi yonden di kandachi yome ro ani tembakkati chingi tuk kedan de kandachin tuk kegi yome ro samjan tamjigi chedo tuk kechene ani ji chö kandachi tengu yome ani ta chö di nyamsileni ya tebi kompan top dengi 아니 겐든 콘조세티 아니 여드메 틴지 돌아 간지 아니 캡숨 그 돌아 아니 삼록 때 내den진 땅고에디 아니 신도는 계정을 찍 차기도 와서라
So in the beginning, in the beginning, the very first door is going for refuge and by way of taking refuge vows. Yeah. So, but this is based on a belief or a deep conviction in the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the three jewels. So without this conviction in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then there is no way that the refuge vows will be generated. So based on an introduction to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we can understand that an understanding about the three jewels is something that is very important. And especially in order, if you are somebody that wishes to become an authentic Buddhist, then we must have a genuine understanding and conviction of what the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is. Yeah. So the Buddha Shakyamuni, his due to his great kindness of having generated the mind that wishes to be a benefit to others, and then going on to achieve the perfect state of enlightenment, then we come to understand the basis of what the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is. So we can see that this is generating an understanding or a knowing of these is really very important. That's it.
데리다 라 딘자 산지추 겐두숨려야 오네직 샘띵기 이체 용열려야 아니 산지추 겐두숨기 아니 딱레 아니 산지 그 꾸송 툭숨기 연된디 지 토마투나 아니 이체 신은 깔카 버와스라 이체디 베나간조다 지 소수기 곰시지기 토네 아니 소수 리종지기 토네 양간조 아니 이체 제단지 연구열이 이체 연구열이 되는 간조다 베나 아니 롬바 디다오진바나 아니 남바 산지비 쳐 아니 하장 유릉부 로여 마라와서라 로십중갑질라 로문도 아서라 아니 딘디지기 린라야 베 아니 롬비기 유스 콤시 용스 조바 교원 로야니 신는 깔레카 버와스 딘자 디메디 콤시 토니 먼저 산지추 겐든 숨라야 이치 용야디니 깔레카부 차고레스로 다 미징가시 오네 지 남산지비 추던 체바들 남산베 아니 샘딩니 대바기에대야 가보쇼 용대야 아니 추비 암졸라 코바다베 람산 미니 치만트르데 틴디 미지카시 용구도 하서로 디조 개방음의 바샤 또비 용구열에 디조 로진바는 레라부 차고레스 그런 남산지비 최장야라야고 바차 투부 예비기 딱 세만로 디피니 먼저 철로는 통행과 먼저 군절라 바샤 슈첸보여디 아니 산지치 겐드스음라야 캡수리 캡드 남다 용야디 레라부지로 유진야부지 상대거라스 디 매바이나 로 다 메신 델야 지 남산지비 최의 지체 메신 델야 남산지비 최의 슈진 산지치 겐드스음라야 대바양 타바치 대바 템부지 아니 용바 체발라 아니 산지주 겐든숨기 아니 연된징 토마드나 아니 신든 깔카고레스
So when we look to explore what the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is, we can, on that basis, develop a deep sense of belief and conviction. But when we take the first jewel, the Buddha jewel, we need to understand the good qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, in order to generate a deep conviction or belief. We need to know what the good qualities are of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So in general, there are many cultures that culturally they are Buddhist, and it is a tradition to have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's almost like a habit or a conditioning from their culture. But here in the West, in Australia, it's only the Buddha Dhamma has only really been spreading for about 40 or 50 years. So it's very difficult to generate a sense of faith and deep conviction through just that cultural conditioning. So, but there are many that due to previous life imprints and karma, then when they hear about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, they feel a sense of enjoyment and deep faith and conviction. So this is really due to their strong imprints from their previous life karma. And it's very easy for them to generate that faith and conviction. But if we are not somebody that is able to generate that faith so easily, and we're meeting and hearing about the Buddha Dhamma and the three jewels for the first time in this life, then it's really very important to develop faith and conviction in the three jewels, about learning about the good qualities of those three jewels. And if we don't see the importance of these good qualities, it is very difficult to generate that faith and conviction in them. Let's do that.
These are the Tindig Tolia, and the Sanji Chukin Sumki, and Motra number Sanji Chu, the Motra so, and Yan Yang Niche, Titola Yang, some of them by now, and the Sanji Chukin Sumlea, Ichi, and Namdach Legores. Till by not that tell it them be, and Camdu Namda Yungure, Camdu Dombadia. Camdu Domba and Togur was raw. The Sanji Gendu Sumlea Ichi Jona, and it Pigitachi Sanji Re Sanji Tachi Kunsubtavo, Ra Sanji Kunsubtavo, Suzuki Susulayata, Lama Givishi Yungura, and Givishi Nila in Bayanaya, only Gita, and Ichi Samach Legres. 이제 싸마지게 토니 아니 계시니 눈이 잠주 dom바시나 잠주 dom바 토그레 아니 개니게 dom바시나 개니게 dom바 토그레 되네 계선롱 dom바시나 아니 계선롱 dom바 토그레 딘디지게 토니다 아니 산지게 치우 진압디 아니 소주 gyulaya 레몬디 아니 디 또기 난수 규기 님무 특성 세디 아니 그 란싱기다 뇽르로야치 융구여레스 다 난주 규기 님무 특성 가즈스 뇽르로 디서기 아니 메시디 키부차고 와사레스 디서기 아니 지 미션라야 아니 펜도체토야기 니바딜레기여레스 로 미션라 네바체야기 대한 domtugedi nimu shukchong robana mela manvi chawadi mang shetoguyores.
So in this way, we can be discussing about an introduction to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And even if we are already familiar with what the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, it gives an opportunity to reflect again and again. If we hear it regularly, and we can reflect again and again. And then on that basis, we're able to strengthen our own belief and conviction. And this will assist in strengthening our own going for refuge, and also strengthen and allow us, if we haven't already, allow us to obtain the refuge vow, and also strengthen that refuge vow. So we can regard the Buddha as something that is very rare, a very precious or rare jewel, yeah? And we can regard the Buddha as being our own guru, our own Lama. And then on this basis, we can very genuinely and in a very pure way, we can take the refuge vow, either as a layperson or as a novice monastic. And then on that basis, we're able to receive the blessings based on our pure and our pure So our pure understanding of what those qualities are. So, and then likewise, if we have that deep conviction and belief, then naturally the three poisons of attachment, anger, and ignorance and so forth will be naturally decreasing. And however much our afflictive or disturbing emotions will decrease, then that much will be able to lead a happier life. And then also our capacity or our ability to benefit others will be also naturally increasing. So with the decrease of these afflictive or destructive emotions, then we will not be engaging in, or we'll be engaging in a lesser degree the activities that are harmful for others. 맞습니다.
대린 계란기 송게 쌍무 빼고.
Yeah. So Geshe said that my voice is sounding very clear. It's not Gacha Gachapa and it's not this Chava song here.
다시 말해. 지단계 말.
알아요.
야. 안디레 딘장 이 이치세디 신도는 개침물에서 라마 군조스나 이치데 개침물이 개개나 이치데 개침물이 아니 저번 남편줄이야 이치 지야데 신도는 개침물 차가도 와서 나도 이제 매와이나 되니 차와 가르쳐와이나야 그러 난 조금다 들어 이제 매서 왜질라 이제 매서 왜질라 아니 빼나 가서 될래요 루루친 좀 요래 견좀 갈래 이제 매와는 게 가르 시에 돼봐야나야 견좀 샘라 갸차 갸담바 팽가 말해 등이 탁 찌는 랍투고 있어라 가서 편줄이 이체고다 그러 이체 약보 첸가 봐나 뭔가 깨우 담바 참을로 랑기 라마 게위 신이라야 이체 대바지 제발 때니 아니 주비 공부 톱이야 짠짠 차고라서라 어디다 다 이체도 신도는 개침 버려서 다 이체 용해라 가르치고 그래서 세때 지와직 차고도 어서라
So the belief or conviction is something in general is very, very important, but especially in terms where we're discussing about the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but also in terms of one's teacher or the person that you're receiving the spiritual advice from, but also as well among friends, that the belief and trust needs to exist mutually among your own friends. Yeah. So without a belief or a trust or conviction, without that, regardless of the actions that one engages in or that they do, then it's not going to be very worthwhile or regarded very valuable. So for example, we've all come here together. And if you do not have belief or trust in myself or in Geshe, then whatever he is saying, it's really not going to have much impact or benefit at all. So you can see that it's very important to have a deep level of faith and conviction and belief in somebody. So especially when we speak in terms of trying to achieve this perfect state of enlightenment, we need to have unshakable and single-pointed faith and conviction in the teacher, in one guru. Yeah. So in order for this level of faith and conviction, we can question what are the methods that we need to cultivate to generate this level of belief.
다디 가르고르슬라다 단 타르투나 술좀 송야 드레샤스 라 술좀 디 데르다 다 메기 주본 거 술좀 송야디 아니 신도는 계시 못 차게도 서로 메기 주본 소수기 메기 주본 거 술좀 약부 송바나 델라 템비 아니 메망부지기 이치에 델든 리기도 와서라
So what do we need? We need to practice ethical discipline. In particular, we need to practice the restraining or abandoning the 10 non-virtuous activities. And on that basis, then people really develop a sense of faith or conviction in oneself.
네, 더 소수 설좀 약부 좀 봐야나 미션라야 이치기야디야 팽기어레스. 그러 오늘 간주 상담 봐야나 설좀 넘버 타고 송딩이 소 밀레 이치비어레스. 근데 야월 문제로지 봐야. 그러 미 순다지기 야오르무질 지 쉬자바네 야오르무질 람상 다디 리 공고다 다리 삼고다 지 아니 강아메나 강아 유스라 콜 강아 요레 gond로야 도다 간지 아니 베나 캡질 라마 소버무질이야 카르 쉬자반 다가 뎀바 송고다 이치 시기다 밀라 가슴은 수수육이 슬름 남바 타봤어 수수육이 비기게 아니 밀런네 비기 소제발라 소보 꾸먹고야라 소보다 준다 참말라 소보 식 배주 지금 매반자 데 미셴게 디 지기를 쌈비기 로디 끼기요 말이스 진짜 수수 술좀 약부지 송바나 미셴라 아니 도바 남도 뇽로 그레스 로 미셴라 이체 망리 그레스
So the belief that is generated by in others by seeing that you are practicing the ethical discipline is really a great benefit for cultivating that trust and conviction in others by practicing the ethical discipline yourself. So you can take, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. People around him or who go to him, they immediately have a sense of trust. And you can really think, yeah, this, what His Holiness is saying, it is like that. There's an immediate sort of sense and belief of what the advice has been given. And in the same way, when we're those close to or when meeting Lama Zopa Rinpoche, because they are practicing and protecting their vows of ethical discipline. And they don't even use the words that relate to actions of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and so forth. So on this basis, we're able to develop an instinctive trust and conviction in what they are saying and in them. And in the same time, then there's a lot less doubt that is being generated. So the belief and conviction is increasing in terms of others, how they regard someone with ethical discipline, and there's a lot less doubting that person. That's all.
나다 수수 설좀 무송인 진바나 미션을 이시 지금 말했어. 미션 더밖에 안 자. 그래서 수수 난신기 비 설좀 무송인지 아니 소르그라 통고하래서 닌 통고하래서 진짜 아니 nganzu nampenzu chambu yongya tumbu yongya ro ani chichile ichi yongya man sama logi ani sulchum sonya di shendun kichimure shas.
Somebody who is not practicing ethical discipline, it's very easy for us to not trust them, to be very distrustful of the person. But in order for harmony or a connected and trustworthy community, it is very important to you yourself practice ethical discipline. That's all.
다 디마지와지 아니 피기 가서 다지 죽신도지 아니 죽신자야 다 죽신자선 하고 그러
죽 this 소나나
펜즈 만tum바 소야기 라 민펜즈 tum부 매바 소야기 다직 배주지야 들려 죽신세로
that's it.
아니 지 소소소 가서 다 아니 샹고 깨지셔야 돼요 소바 라 아니 지 미리 만다위 균센라 때니 아니 지 코치그리 코니르 세데 직시되어 딘디 간지 도저 참마 생기더레스 참마 남편 좀 많죠 봐서야 지라 다 딘디도 시에는 로데바나 간지 된다 가르쳐 가서나 에너 수 아니 개인이 동발내 용이지만나 소수기기 동발은 누구래스 개수는 동발 용이지만나 소수기기 동발은 누구래스 로 nesa tardubadi sosugi dombal negores sosugi dombal lagbayna kanji sosugi dombal lagbayna sosugi negores se dila kibu mewa chagore se chimala killing jimana sechima ngansong le kia ge gyucha do wores.
So if you are somebody that creates problems and issues within a community that is basically stirring the pot and creating a lot of problems, either through actions or using harsh words, for example, then this is actually creating very harmful results for one's own vows, be it the layperson vows or the novice monastic vows. Then this activity of disturbing and creating problems is something that is very harmful for your vows. Yeah. And if one loses those vows that you may have, then it not only harms this life and reduces happiness in this life, but it also becomes a cause for falling to the hell realms in our future lives if you accept the existence of future lives. That's it.
Dinza kanji ani mi tsogi suzula ichi sadang rewachasa mi yagbujin tongu yobana ani suzu tsultim la ya rali yores ro gyasa gyatamba rali yores da dini nganzuda kewa gyuni dronge killing jimbana kewa gyuni benata ani mini milya kewa lenchin ro muntun da chüche ndeba yongi jimbana many me kevalaya Tsultrim songo dasra Tsultrim masona ani meke gyuk zawni yomares darwa meke gyu yomares tinza Tsultrim songbala teni ani Tsultrim la teni Tsultrim songbala teni and dananga lamram nalala ya ta kiu chungu gi samba jang seja kiu chungu gi samba jang ba tya Tsultrim songbala rale gi dasra Tsultrim masona 아니 람람 니시비 기부 총 삼바 장출직 싸우니 요 말이스.
So if you want to be somebody who where others place belief and place hope in, then this is really relies on if you have ethical discipline. So if you're somebody that accepts the existence of future lives, then from life to life, if one wants to achieve a human body, and in order to study the Dharma and so forth, then the practicing of ethical discipline is something that is really indispensable. So without this practice of ethical discipline, that is actually impossible to obtain a human existence. So this we can relate to the Lamrim, or the text called the graduated stages to enlightenment. And this specifically refers to the smaller scope capacity, those beings that have a thought that is in common with people of a smaller scope capacity. And it specifically highlights this practice of ethical discipline. So without the practice of ethical discipline, you're not going to be a being that is practicing in accord with these small scope capacity being. Let's learn.
Tadini given drink samba John Sajara, given drink kalaya, so tarvatini loti shagiorosra. Jans manje core. These given drink samba jombalaya, Tsultrim the neighbor to Gogodasra. Tarva tobalaya, Numu Pangogores. Numu Pangbalaya, Tsultrim Masomba, Numu Paya, Tapchi Zawni Yomares. Yeah, Zawni Yomares. Tinza ani Numu Pambi chet, Numu Pambi Pamba Tarva Tobi chet, Tsultrim Songadi, give drink samba jomat chagores. Lamram nani shebita, give drink samba jomati, that two Taran res.
So now the being that is in common with the middling scope capacity, yeah, then they are mainly motivated to achieve liberation of freedom from cyclic existence. So in order to achieve that liberation, one needs to practice ethical discipline. So, but specifically, when one wishes to, in order to abandon cyclic existence and achieve liberation, one must abandon one's afflictive emotions. So without ethical discipline, there is no capacity or possibility of abandoning one's afflictive emotions. So this is in common with the middling scope being that is outlined in the Lamrim text. So mainly it is relating in this way.
그래서 더 개우 첨부기로 심전 탐지기 체도 안다 현둔 중이지만은 술좀 개발고도 하서라 심전 탐제라야 펜디르야라야 심전 탐제라 아니 네버드 방고그로 네야기 조디 생기 속제야 생기 롱주 고먹고야 아니 생 고고타야기 줌마야라 소바 아니 지 생기 샘강로 네비 아니 칙두자 페주치야라 소바 남규 두자 때야라 소바로 어 디디 네버드 방고도 하서라 그래서 아니 셴레야 펜디드리아게 쳐도 랑기 기지 수tum 양타고 송와는 디 개우 쳔비가 남양는 그런 바 이게 배 쪼드 차가도 왔어라.
And finally, the beings that are in common with the greater scope, they are working for the benefit and working to help all other sentient beings. And this requires the practice of our own ethical discipline. So in order abandoning harming others, then we abandon actions that that avoid killing, that avoid stealing, that don't deceive others, that do not lie, and they do not cause any mental harm, for example. All of these things need to be abandoned if we're going to be abandoning the harming of others. Yeah. So this is what is in common with the beings of the greater scope. In order to benefit others, we need to practice our own ethical discipline. This is mainly what is related in this topic.
두 상당한디 술좀 길라바디 신도는 개침보라 좀 된디게 소마 시송간도 상도 간다지 담아이나 술좀 길라바디 신도는 개침보레스 라 술좀 송여디 더 개체슈도 자고레스 라 럽침보 펜도 침보 아니 내다 침마 탐제라야 펜비기 시자로디 술좀 길라바디 자기도 와서라
So going along this outline and understanding this outline, we can understand why ethical discipline is actually extremely important. Out of the 3 high trainings, ethical discipline is really something that is very powerful and it actually becomes very beneficial and useful. So it serves as a foundation. So this is what the Buddha advised.
Tinza tindriki ta kechibiki ani netsul tsutumki labati ani kechimbu toniro kechimbu jitsini ani kechimbu toni ani tsutumki labati songu imbayna ta dili kechiyagi nyamninji yosamariyas ro ani tsutum yakbu ji songi miji imbayna miti koli kien karichabayna ya ani kibu jin detuyachi ro ani 나도 두스테바는 오늘이 철좀 약부 송이 미지나고 아니 미키네 그 만라지 통인 것도 왔어라 통과 그런 지니 코란레야 샥스다 마스나 곧미 미갸타 미키를 내바나 그 로가 태인 거래스 철좀 약부 송댕이 미지
So seeing the importance of this situation where the ones protecting one's own ethical discipline, we come to see the protection of one's ethical discipline has been very, very important here. And the practice of that, we come to understand that there's really nothing above this practice in terms of importance, that there's nothing more important than protecting this ethical discipline. So when, regardless of whatever condition or situation that we meet, then we will be able to remain happy, yeah? And we'll be able to see situations and occasions in a different light, in a different way. So for example, if you are one who is practices ethical discipline well, even if one arrives in the middle of 100 people, then you'll be able to remain very courageous and have the deep sense of courage. Yeah? And this is based on one's understanding and practice of that ethical discipline. That's
These are Suzugulaya, Sudrumgulabayabu, Javana, Suzu Semdi Kaduina, Darwa, Kaduina Pakpebuchin, Kibuchin, Detuyaji, Yungiorasara, Kaduina Jig Shenlaya, Nebache, Deadanjik, Ani Tindido Jig Shenlaya, Tagdoda, Densam, the Dindijanjik, Samlon, Dedabana, Masu Kaduina give your mares. 메타저스 인자 다 기체슈드 썰듬레 딘디그 썰듬 글라바디 가알때니 용거레스 라운디 산주추 겐든숨라야 캡스루이 캡루디 시치니 아니 다 아니 용고거레스 라 캡루 시치니 캡루그 삼로 예비 토니 아니 수수 기위신이라야 대바당난 토니 다 dom바시바나 dom바디 기기거레스 디메나 썰듬 글라바디 랑귤라 용야기 아니 주진 셴바 요 말했어. 자긴 셴요 말했어.
So one's mind that is practicing, one's own mind that is practicing ethical discipline well is able to remain relaxed and happy. Yeah? Whereas somebody that has a lot of jealousy, competitiveness, and so on, that mind is never happy or relaxed. Yeah? Whereas if we have ethical discipline that is based in the understanding and going for refuge in the three jewels of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And then if we seek a refuge vows from our very kind teachers in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then we're able to, on this basis, practice our ethical discipline. So there is no other sort of conditions that are that exist in order for us to practice this ethical discipline other than our promises and vows. Nasula.
The Tsultrim Gilaba Yabu Jona, Dingin Sadi, Ra, Semzi Judu Nevi, Dingin Yonyadi, Lela Chagores, Ra, Tsultrim Yabu Jona, Semdi Chagdangi, Shawandi, Romoda, Sem Chagdangi Shawand Mazuna, Yulia Zejudu Nevi, Dingin Yonyadi, Lela Chagores. Lelawchagores. The thing is, Yobana, Sheriff P. Lengi Namajibi, Namjuk, Sheriff Kiete, Yunguyores, Ra. Kanji disum di Pena Sheriff Gilaba, Numum Mujinibuching, Sheriff Gilaba Yonyala, thing is Gogore, thing is Yonyala, Tsultrim Gogores. Tsultrim Mena, thing is Yunguma, thing is Mena, Lengi Namajibi, Namjuk, Sheriff Ki Tumares. Ra. Do Samutani. Tsultrim Gilabadi, she so imbadi, won't Tony, and the Susi Nimachik Tsultrim Yabuji Somewhere that the Gavares. Take Yavachimala Kayores. Radisungudada.
So if we have a good practice in ethical discipline, then when it comes to generating concentration concentration, it is very easy for us to develop stable and lasting single-pointed concentration. Whereas if we have a mind that is constantly under the sway or the control of attachment and anger, for example, then it's very, very difficult to develop concentration. So now if we have developed a very stable and single-pointed concentration, then it is a lot easier to develop wisdom, the third of the three higher trainings. So if we have these three of the ethical discipline, concentration, and wisdom, then we're able to generate them all very stably. But in order to generate wisdom, we need to generate concentration. But in order to generate concentration, we must have a sound practice of ethical discipline. So you can see that these are all related in a sequential way. So the practice of ethical discipline is the real foundation. So even if we practice just a single day of ethical discipline, then that is a virtuous activity, a virtuous action. And we can expect to experience the result of that virtue in our future lives, it is said. Let's do that.
Okay. Any 당한서 로직의 쉐는 jan서 티워드는 알 티워다로지스로.
So we've been discussing for about a year or so. So if you have a question, then please ask it.
Yeah, good.
Geshe, in our ignorance, sometimes we get things wrong and we try to do the right thing, but instead we cause harm to others. How can we, what can we do in that situation?
What can we do in terms of what actions we can do, or?
I guess from our side, to not do it again, we can purify, I guess.
So in terms of actions.
Yeah, subsequent action, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So ngaz maripagi wangi ngaz nutur choya mambu yore and kurunde yabu yona yang any sem mi shembalani de ngaz nupa de yoro any ngotur shone any shen la any nuna any tabshe di yabu soyala any tabshe kare re.
다 균댕기 수수기 다 동발랑서위 제라 제 머롱위 자와도서 문 진치진 균댕기 제 머롱와디 아니 샘라 탱고도 와서라 샘라 템비 율 요 템비 나로 요바나 마제 요바나 제 메바이나 로 제 메바이나 아니 람상 피기 자와 가르치오나 디 체인 거라서 데등이 제롱고 말이 데등이 람는 디그 말이 딩이 삼는 디그 말이 삼야기 아니 템비기야 라인 거라서 디 균댕기 삼로나다 요거라 간수 아니 베나라마 기위신이 망 체지 쇼긴가고 야라니 아니 간드인 체기여라다 곰갸거 곰갸조디 라바숨고 토네 곰갸야 디리 마도 라바숨도 만제비 곰지 갸바이나 디 넘버3 기위 곰 오늘 진짜 자금도 왔어. 자금도 왔어. 그러다 아니 곰갸니 오늘 주 소주 술좀 길라발이야. 네비 자와지여바나 대마타도 샥담 체진. 로 아니 겨바기체 당이 딕문도 더 친제 남성이 싸우니 책면 삼비비 담자샤 도스 니만 로바이나 까투고요레스 다 덴데리 캐란 라오나 신경안조 아니 뉴무토송 그 샤만 키운즈 까불까랑안조 농투쇼 시고레스 농투쇼바이나 농투쇼 대마타도 쇼나 대만 타도 아니 샘날래 여버지 있는 친제 남성이 들이 지면서 마치와 지기 sam 배 아니 담자치야가 소바 둘이 집어나 예바도 다 들어거래서 예바고 다야 요래서
So once somebody has taken vows and made those promises, then it's very important not to forget those vows and promises, and especially in relation to the objects here that we've made those vows and promises in. Yeah, so it's important to practice that mindfulness and not regret, not forget. So we try to think, well, actually, it's not suitable for us to speak in that way, to act in that way. So, for example, there are many teachers and lamas that get up very early and they practice their meditation, they recite their prayers and so on. But the main content of those prayers and meditation is necessarily the 3 higher trainings. So if that meditation or prayer is not related to the 3 higher trainings, you cannot call that meditation or prayer Buddhist. Yeah. So if we do, and like you say, we have got these afflictive emotions, we have the ignorance, then we will make mistakes and harm others. But immediately, if we're after having made that mistake, then we confess. We generate a strong, deep regret of having done that. And we make a promise to not engage in that activity again. So then day to day, as life goes on, then finally, if we're practicing in this way, then we're eventually able to abandon those actions that harm others. But because we make mistake unintentionally, we harm others, then these things do happen, they come about. So, but it's really very important if they do happen, or when they do happen, then immediately after, then we regret. Yeah. And then in this way, we're able to practice the purification of that negativity that we've engaged in. That's all.
Yeah, to do that. 인지 디자 당간주 간지 로디 나로라야 콜롱 상부 지게 토네로 콜롱 다 삼반남다 그 토네 아니 간주 좀 된데 라브자 상부 티토라야 간투치두게 간주 시에요레 녜요레 삼로 땅요레스 덴자 텔라 야시자타 망간줄라야 아니 게자치기 요레스 게위츠아와치 요레스로 다 딘지 게위츠아와디게 아니 다 규단 켄체네 아니 직 마웅발야 아니 직 소소라니 베슴제 탐젤야 아니 펜도시 퉁겐게 아니 미지교쇼 셈말람 자야디 베키침부기 사레스
So, with a good and pure meditation that we have discussed about the Buddha Dharma, yeah, we have shared, we have listened, and we have reflected about the Buddha Dharma, but with a really the best motivation that we're able to cultivate here. And so these activities are actually becoming what is called as root virtue. Yeah. So, and these become the causes and conditions, yeah, for generating a benefit or in our future lives. So we can make the aspirational prayer based on these root virtues, that may I myself become somebody who is beneficial for the sake of all sentient beings in the future. So this way of reflecting on our root virtues is something that is very important.
데르다 디 당한 사물로기로 아니 개와 강사비 아니 기වි자발 때니 산지점 된디기 라우자 상모디 아니 뭐 사물로기다 아니 고투야 년투야 아니 샘라야 펜토바치 에 용쇼스 물람제디 조직으로서야
So whatever virtue, may that be a root virtue, and that we can make the aspirational prayer that may all beings hear the Buddha's advice. May they all understand the Buddha's advice, and may the Buddha's advice be of benefit to their minds. So we can, in this way, we can think of our virtue and make those aspirational prayers. Masula.
대다 난수 사물로기 아니 개와디 아니 촉직라 수동비 동발레 때니로 지 사도당 아주 롬반 델 되기요 반사 롬반 델 되기요 반사 안지 롬반 디 나로라야 오니 산지 템바디 부탁보치 라 롬바디나 산지 템바 부탁보치 수투바나 롬바디 멜 팽기르마도 누구메바디 야세 야탐바 랍투 그레스 라 tinza lomba delaya ngone sanji ki temba pu thabo chi pigi chi nyemba tsamayimba khani sheba tsamayimba tanda ngoma la ya lalen tar thungi ani me mambu chi yobana di ani lomba dinala pengres lomba digi shedela pengres ro tindiji yon shows.
So all of our virtue can be, we can make the aspirational prayer that may in this country, from one side, in our own country, then the good quality that the Buddha Dharma in its very good quality, a genuine Buddha Dharma is spread and brings benefit to our country. We can say that a genuine sense of the Buddha Dharma is really, you can say with conviction that it's only a benefit, but not only that people listen to the Buddha Dharma or speak about the Buddha Dharma, but those beings put into practice about what the Buddha Dharma is talking about here. And then we make the aspirational prayer that may this bring about the peace and happiness in our country.
Tinza 다 두수 참아지 약부지 용야일야 나라서 쳐조디야 약부지 차고야디 신도는 계시무 차고라스 라 딘즈지 쳐조디 친나 발선 참을로 차수부 약부 용야다 안디 나라 데비기 미소이나야 툭tum부 침장 용야 안주지 쳐조디 지 아니 차수부 약부지 용야기 쳐도지 아니 레지마부지 베나 줄라칸 상야로 소베 레지마부지 and chigiyori ani pena susuroji bana samban namda imado ra samban namda ke chi sanji ki tembala ya chi pena sambata lombandi ki misola ya chi pena sambi ki kolon samban namda ka toni chigiyo mado tele ya shemba kanya mes ra inza susu kolon samban namda ka toni droni ani tamaji susu gari chongba ina ya 아니 샘나는 여바자원이 메스 된서 딘디기지 아니 레지토즈만에 약부치 로 아니 수수 삼반한신 주야기에 초지 잡았던 집이 아니 투미 요리 삼고도스 잡았던 집이기 오늘 전랍이 요리 삼고도스 아니 전랍 주 투야기 아니 사말로게 로간주 사마타 퉁 통보해서 사말로게 물론 자로치 아니 텔레야 메준시로시스 라
This corona ngante lolegi battery ni sotrotus. Lolegi battery sotrotu ngante this par kyabyo. This na.
laptop battery is finished. 고문다. Hello.
Hi, sorry. Wait.
아이고,
Okay, sorry, my battery was about to die. Sorry. So, in Geshe would also like to say that we make the aspirational prayers to remove any obstacles in terms of obstacles at the Chidresik Institute here. So in particular, that may people be able to practice their ethical discipline without a hardship or obstacle, and also to make the aspirational prayers that all goes well with the establishment of building the main temple, the large temple, and that all these staff and volunteers are actually working with a very pure and good heart in order to benefit the Buddha's teachings, in order to benefit others. So in the end, if we have this good and pure motivation, then come what may, regardless of the obstacles that may be encountered, there will be no need to regret. So if we are able to proceed with this good heart, a good motivation, then we'll be able to receive the blessings of the Buddhas that exist, that are there. Yeah. So if we make these aspirational prayers, if we put into effort, then these obstacles will be removed. Nasula.
어딜 던졌다? 간주 크리스마스 뒤틀 내인 거레스. 칼라야부 사로치. And this 동거는 동로치스라. 기우다니 간주 로사발라. 야차야다 뭐 제용스라.
So, and now it is coming up to Christmas time, and Geshe would like to say that please enjoy your food and drink, and try to, please enjoy. And then next year we will meet again in the new year.
대다 로사바디라. 당간주 로님바 조레. 로사바디 로님바를 사가치라. 간주 아니 독자 찍디치야다. 통부치야다. 라 안직 자와카리나 럽친지 치야다 아니 취 제반은 취 남다 치야지 지긴 삼비기 담자시 하고 그래서 로사바는 나로라 로 님발에 라가지
So in the new year, yeah, we need to make an affirmation or a promise that we will be better, or the next year, the new year will be better than our last year, that will be more harmonious. We will practice more strongly in the Buddha Dharma. We make this affirmation or promise to make the next year, the new year, even better than our last year. Nasula.
어제나 나기 진예 사비 개완디 땡단 조와 공라 강방당 차버를 주존 로선 차바 댐비 님보 린도 사시쇼
Sashi Om Vajrarekiya Hong Shi Shagri Koyuki Kowe Yusun Ri Rabori Rab Shalupa Polo Zamboli No Balancho Dran Draminyan Ludan Lupa Naya Danaya Jan Yoda Nana Jodo Draminyangen Draminyan Rinpoche Ri Wo Pak Sanghi Shin Dojo Yapa Mamo Pai Loto Kolo Rinpoche Nobo Rinpoche Zomo Rinpoche Lompo Rinpoche Lampo Rinpoche, Tajo Rinpoche, Mapo Rinpoche, Tershen Po Ye Bumpa, Ge Ma, Trengwa Ma, Lu Ma, Gara, Meto Ma, Dupao Ma, Nelso Ma, Jishao Ma, Ni Ma, Da Wa Rinpoche, Du, Shona Nampa, Gawa Gasen, Usulada Mi, Beljo Punso So Pa, Ma Zong Wa Me Pa, 绍兴一度哇哇地的真正造我当个pa这拍拍的拉玛当帕南的 K 拍的样用 K 也是研究这些punsok son po pa son ma na te pa chen po son tu za po le pa to pa K pa sin ke te wa yun tu shin kan bo wa jo gon va jo say 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 that cancer do to do one pension and tension pass champa so pay say champa sing ka lu pa so sa shi po ki shu shi me to tam ri ra ri shi ni de gam pa di san ge xing du mi te o wa yi do kon nan da shi la cho pa shok che zon la me ku si ra ten Chin na ka tin le shu go ge pa da lo zan tem pe lo me sa som ki do we mon sel ta tu ne yo chi idam guru ratna mandala kami tayami. So then the final Lamrim dedication. From my two types of merits, vast space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. If I don't reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete great paths and the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by a strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from minds of beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by this even greater path of enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths. Never be pardoned or lies from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practice, may always be insisted by the mighty ones. May oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.